The tradition continues.
Calvary Global to the world 24/7.
Tradition continues.
Calvary.
At least 10 Palestinians presses on with its assault on the area targeting the city in the south where it has urged people to move. The military has issued multiple evacuation warnings for Gaza City, but many residents say they have nowhere else to go. Meanwhile, the U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is visiting Israel and has met Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Rubio says he will convey America's priorities on Gaza and is expected to discuss Tuesday's Israeli missile strike on the Qatari capital. Donald Trump has said he's very unhappy with the attack that killed 6 people in Doha. Qatar's Prime Minister says Israel's attacks will not stop Doha's mediation efforts with Egypt and the U.S. to end the war on Gaza. Mohammed bin Abdurrahman Al Thani made the remarks during a closed-door meeting with foreign ministers from Arab countries ahead of an emergency summit on Monday. The Prime Minister stressed that the region cannot achieve comprehensive peace and security unless the Palestinian people obtain their legitimate rights.
Israel's barbaric and demagogic practices will not deter us from continuing our sincere efforts with the Arab people.
First day of talks since discussions includes tariffs and the economy as the sides try to prevent relations between Washington and Beijing from collapsing entirely under President Donald Trump's tariffs. Turkey have won silver at the 2025 Eurobasket after losing to Germany 88-83 in the final on Sunday. It equals their best result from 2001, the last time they played in the competition's decider. Ag and Ataman's side were dominant in the first quarter, but the reigning world champions Germany pushed back to catch up to Turkey. Hamas's political leadership in Doha, but Netanyahu has refused to rule out striking Hamas's leaders living abroad. In Doha, leaders attending an emergency summit in the Qatari capital have U.S. news website Axios is reporting the Israeli military has launched a ground offensive to occupy Gaza City. On Monday, Israel continued its bombardment of high-rise buildings in the area, striking Gufari, the tallest residential building in the enclave. In the last 2 weeks, the military has stepped up assaults on Gaza City's towers, claiming Hamas is using them without providing any evidence. The intensity of Israel's attacks is forcing Palestinians to flee day and night from northern Gaza to the south. More than 200,000 Palestinians have fled besieged Gaza City in recent weeks. Many residents refuse to leave, citing fatigue and insufficient boat in international waters. 2 weeks ago, a similar strike killed 11 people, with the U.S. government justifying it as a crackdown on.
This isn't tension, it's an aggression all down the line. It is judicial aggression when they criminalize us. It is political aggression with their daily threatening statements. It is both diplomatic and military aggression. Venezuela is empowered by international law to confront this aggression comprehensively. It is not tension, it is aggression.
Russia says it has tested one of its long-range cruise missiles as well as another capable of carrying a nuclear warhead during major military drills with its ally Belarus. The exercises are taking place near NATO's eastern flank at a time of heightened tensions with the alliance. They are the first war games to be held between Russia and Belarus since the beginning of the conflict in Ukraine. Palestinians in Gaza City say they're facing the heaviest bombardment since Israel began its war in Gaza 2 years ago. It comes as Israel launches its long-threatened ground assault to occupy the area. More than 90 people have been killed across the Strip on Tuesday. Israel says it's prepared to send even more troops into the urban center, overwhelmed with patients due to repeated evacuations and a lack of functioning medical facilities across Gaza. A video released by the World Health Organization shows wounded people bleeding.
While going to home, I was shot in my leg. The situation in the hospital is very difficult. There are no doctors and no beds. I have been laying on the floor for an hour, unable to do anything. I am tired and shot in the leg. I don't know. I am very tired.
Israel has committed genocide against Palestinians in Gaza. The report says 4 of the 5 genocidal acts have been carried out by the Israeli government since the war began in 2023. The carnage in the Strip. American president to make 2 state visits to the UK. After attending royal events, he will meet British Prime Minister Keir Starmer to sign a new energy deal and discuss trade and security. The main suspect in the killing of prominent American far-right activist Charlie Kirk has been formally charged with murder. 22-year-old Tyler Robinson made his first court appearance on Tuesday. He faces charges of aggravated murder and 6 other offenses. Utah County Prosecutor Jeff Gray says he will seek the death penalty. And Robert Redford, a legend of Hollywood, at his home in Utah. He's been hailed by both Hollywood A-listers and the U.S. president as a giant both in front and behind the camera.
Israel's contingent Palestinians have been killed in Israeli attacks, the majority of those deaths in Gaza City. Meanwhile, the European Union has called for a suspension of a free trade agreement with Israel in response to the talks with Israel could yield results in the coming days. Disengagement agreement or adopting a similar framework. Since late December, Israel has struck Syrian territory several times, killing civilians and destroying military infrastructure. An immigration judge has ordered activist Mahmoud Khalil be deported from the United States. Court documents show an order that he be deported to either Algeria or Syria for allegedly failing to disclose information on his green card application. Khalil was a lead negotiator during last year's student protests at New York's Columbia University against Israel's war on Gaza. He was arrested by the Trump administration in March and released 2 months later. US President Donald Trump has called his second state visit to the UK the highest honour of his life. He spent Wednesday meeting Britain's King Charles and Queen Camilla. It's the biggest state visit. Russell State banquet toast, Trump hailed the eternal bond between the US and Britain.
The bond of kinship, and we are, as a country, as you know, doing what you gave us when we started.
Brazil's former president Jair Bolsonaro has been discharged from hospital after he was diagnosed with skin cancer. House arrest since August and deals with multiple health issues related to a stabbing in 2018. The United Nations as Israel escalates its military assault in the area. Across the Strip on Thursday, at least 50 people have been killed in Israeli attacks. The bombardment is forcing fearful Palestinians to head south in search of shelter and food. The United States has once again vetoed a UN Security Council restrictions on humanitarian aid entering the enclave and for the immediate release of all hostages still held in Gaza. Riyad Mansour, the Palestinian envoy to the UN, condemned the veto.
Millions of people in the streets are demanding from you tools available to you to force Israel to stop this genocide against the Palestinian people.
Israel's army has carried out airstrikes on 3 towns in southern Lebanon, claiming to have been targeting Hezbollah. This comes after Israel issued orders for people in some villages in the south to leave their homes. Israel has repeatedly struck southern Lebanon in violation of a ceasefire agreed last November. French unions say more than 1 million people have joined protests against President Emmanuel Macron's austerity draft budget, causing widespread disruption. Clashes on the streets forced public transport to a halt and schools to shut down. Protesters took direct aim at Macron, whose appointment of his 7th Prime Minister last week, who promised a break from past policies, has done little to calm public anger. A special court in Colombia has sentenced 12 former soldiers over the extrajudicial killings of 135 civilians during fighting with FARC rebels. They've been sentenced to 8 years of reparations work. The Special Jurisdiction for Peace is currently trying both FARC rebels and the military for war crimes and crimes against humanity between 2002 and 2005, when thousands of civilians were killed. The Israeli army has again warned the people of Gaza City to leave before its use of unprecedented force in the city. Tens of thousands of Palestinians are being forced onto coastal roads heading south with nowhere to seek refuge, while the Israeli military levels entire neighborhoods as it advances. At least 45 Palestinians have been killed by Israeli airstrikes on Friday. The Palestinian president will address the UN General Assembly via video link next week after the United States revoked his visa to travel to New York. A resolution to allow Mahmoud Abbas to deliver his address received 145 votes in favour and 5 against. Last month, Washington said it wouldn't allow Abbas to travel to New York, where several US allies are set to recognize Palestine as a state.
We sincerely hope that this abuse to be reversed as quickly as possible, and for the host country to extend visa for our leaders to be with all of you.
Syrian search teams have pulled 25 besieged enclave of eastern Ghouta. It's the latest grim remnant to surface from the country's nearly 14-year war that ended with the ousting of Assad last December. The UN Security Council has voted against permanently lifting economic sanctions on Iran over its nuclear program. A resolution to halt the snapback sanctions scheduled to take effect at the end of the month fell in the Security Council by a vote of 4 to Tehran of breaching the 2015 nuclear alleged breach of its airspace by Russian fighter jets. Estonia says the 3 Russian planes crossed the Gulf of Finland and entered its airspace, where they remained for 12 minutes. The alleged incursion comes just 1 week after Poland claimed